it's Christina again with the Artist Pod, and today we'll be talking about how to draw eyes. I hope I have a nice, easy way to try and make it as easy as possible. They're not really that hard, but I'm hoping that that this will help. So let's get arting. All right, so gonna draw an eye. Now you can do this digitally. You can do this, on a piece of paper. If you're drawing on a piece of paper, I'd encourage you to take like a cup or some other straight edge, although you could just manually draw a circle. For Photoshop, we're going to use the elliptical Mach tool, and we're just going to do a circle, right? And this is something intended to be erased. So if you're drawing it using a cup to sort of create a perfect circle, draw it very lightly so that you can erase it out pretty easily, right? So we're going to draw this circle here. And then for Photoshop, I'm just going to add a stroke to it. Right, so that's my circle. And then on a different layer, I'm going to start a new layer here. I'm going to draw an oval within this circle, right? Now we're going to need to make some adjustments to this, but at least the basic shape will be in place for us to then adjust from there, right? So it's just going to be an oval here. Ooh, that was a bad line. That's okay. That's why I draw the way I do. Right, and then we're going to tip it off down here, not going outside of the confines of this circle, just creating an oval within the circle. I think you could probably even take this and like widen it out. Yeah, you could, right? So if I did that on a different layer, you could even do that. And then remove that, and you could go with that, or, I think the hand-drawn version works as well. So we can take off, let's leave the circle on for now, right? We're going to work with our hand-drawn version, right? So just did a circle, or we just did an oval, right? And the reason this works is our eyes they're a ball in our head, right? They're a giant sphere sitting in our head. And so it makes sense to do it in this context. You can do realistic eyes this way. You can do cartoon eyes this way. There's a ton of implications here. Just imagine a giant sphere with a sort of a slit through it, and there you go. You have an eye. Now, if you wanted to do it more cartoony, you could certainly leave this shape, but we're gonna make some adjustments to make it a little bit more realistic. So realistically, we have kind of a smush part of our eye right through here, right? If you imagine somebody taking our oval and then squeezing down on one side, that's what we would have here, right? So this wouldn't quite be shaped like that. And then it would go up, right? This is a little bit more in line to how an eye is going to look. Right, exactly as if someone has pinched down on this little section of our eyes. Everybody's eyes are shaped a little differently. That's the beauty of them. They don't have to be perfect anythings. The one thing I will say is they don't come down to a point. They round out on the back and on the front here. Here, kind of the same thing. We want this to dip down a little bit and then to come back right over here. It's probably more accurate. And then this is going to bulge out. Right? So we would erase out this right through here. Some of that there. Just be an extra. Okay. Now we can take that away. So we have within an eye, right? We started with an oval. We made some adjustments, rounded out the top here. So push this up. You can see the line actually from the oval still there from where I erased. We push this down a little bit. So we have a little fleshy part of the eye. That's what's in that little pinched section. Then we have the eyelid. The eyelid, generally speaking, is going to follow the eye. It can be different person to person. It can run into the eye, so we're just going to have this come down and then swoop up. So we're just going to have it follow the eye. That's the easiest thing to do. Keep it the same distance all the way down, and as you get to the back, it can sort of widen out just that little bit. The other thing I tend to like to do when I'm drawing eyes is I will draw out a little section here, right? Most people, you see it, again, eyes are a ball in our head, and we have sort of the dark circles under our eyes. Also, this back section, I like to put a little bit more context here as well. Now, we still have the iris. There's a couple ways you can do it. If you're doing it digitally, you could just, once again, grab the elliptical marquee tool. If you're hand drawing it, it's just creating another circle right here within the eye itself. Basically two kind of semicircles to create the iris. If you were doing this with the elliptical marquee tool, you would just take it right top and the bottom, not visible, otherwise your figure would look shocked. So if you want them to look surprised, you want it visible, but in this context, it's not what we want. I'm going to add a stroke again, and because I put this on a different layer, I'm going to grab the lasso tool and just hand draw out a section to erase. Right, and there we go. Right, so if we do this again, I'm going to make this smaller because we're going to fit in more than one eye. And I'm going to leave this selected, drag it over, right, so we have that. Let's drag it, I think, roughly to here. Well, let's do it all the way, right? Want it roughly that same edge. I'm going to stroke again. I'm going to do it on a different layer, though. So if you have a cup, you would just add, you know, all these different lines here. Right. So I often find it's a little easier to draw once the basic shape's in place, right? So you want to break it down a little bit more. So let's think about this in terms of sharp edges, right? We come up, we flatten out, we come back down, and then we turn in, right? This is all very angular, not how I would traditionally draw an eye. Do the same thing on this side, right? Come up, very angular, flatten out. These are all angles instead of smooth surfaces. Come down, angle that to the end, same thing, return it. Come down. Okay, so now we have two very, very angular eyes. I'm going to come up and make them a little bit more rounded. Of course, I can't quite see what I'm doing. But in theory, right, you would just edit what's here to then smooth it out. So you could do it that way. Now, all eyes have, oh, and then the eyelid, right? Getting ahead of myself. The eyelid here, and then flatten you out a little bit more on the eyelid here. Right, just following the edge that already exists. And then, like I did before, I'm going to add in this little spot under the eyes, and then kind of a little bit of spot right under there. Now, all eyes, all people, despite being symmetrical, all people have variations in our eyes on either side. No eye shape is exactly the same. Oh, and don't forget the little fleshy bit of the eye. That's going to be right in there. So I find that it's much more natural looking to have these variations happening and to hand draw both sides. If you're drawing traditionally on a sheet of paper, that's what you would have to do. Digitally, you could copy one of these eyes and just flip it. I'm not showing that because I think that this is fine and that they're close enough that it would work. And if you're drawing someone's eyes directly using an actual model to work from, then you would just be modeling, the shape of their own eyes instead of coming up with our own. Like before, right, we have the iris either side. So we're just going to come in here. I'm doing the quick way. Right, you want it a little bit more on the inside. Again, you could just draw this. And then I'm taking the lasso tool and just hand drawing the selection out above and below. Because I've done this on a different layer than our other eye layer. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this. Right? So then, you would have, the eyebrows above. There'd be a gap here, and you'd have the eyebrows coming along, whatever expression they have. So I hope that's a quick way to hopefully help draw an eye, right? Just do a circle and then draw the eye between the circle. All right, so that's how you draw eyes. I hope that's helpful. In the floating nether next to me, I have other videos of art tutorials I have done, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.